things are probably a little bit better right now. Sorry. People want to be talked off the ledge. Welcome to the Paul Kuharsky podcast, live from Soldier Field. I'm here thanks to Brymac, showing you the lovely view here, which is glary for me and not allowing me to give that as background because I get better light here. Sorry for the flaw there at the beginning with the sound. I know a lot of you, Cy wants to be talked off the ledge. Look, one game against a good defense, but not good at all. All of the things, as I wrote in my column, the lack of offensive rhythm, the penalties that put them in bad situations, the accuracy in decision-making for Levis, all of these offensive things that you thought Todd Downing and Tim Kelly possessed, that there's no way that Callahan could put on display. Callahan was part of here today, which was pretty miserable. And Focus says, I'm out on Levis for this week. He was terrible. That the interception that gave the game away, along with the punt return block that was a touchdown, and then the big return that set up a field goal. I mean, that's 17 free points. But the interception is just terrible. If you're flicking that ball out of bounds, you have to be sure that it's high enough that nobody can catch it. And as Levis admitted, as you're being hit, you have no idea where your body's going to go and how it's going to affect the quote-unquote throw. And you got to eat the sack there. Those yards are not that invaluable right there. So look, and a lot of, people are looking for a silver lining. At least the defense was legit. I mean, the defense looked good, but Jeffrey Simmons is all smiles after that game about the defense looking good. I just don't understand being that happy about the defense looking good. Be pissed off that the team lost the game. Talk tomorrow about the defense looking good. I mean, William wants to know, at what point today did you start to actively think Levis isn't rising to the occasion? I mean, what does it matter exactly at what point during the game? Certainly, right when he thought he had a chance up until that interception that he could have made some plays to win the game. I certainly didn't think he was going to win the game when they got the ball back at the end. So I didn't think so. Arthur Kim is walking through O'Hare Airport, heading home, still shaking his head. Let's listen to some reaction here from PaulKuharsky.com members and react to their reaction collectively. How about we do some of that? We'll start with Josh.
Hey, PK, this is Joshua from Ball 22. New year, new coaches, new players, still feels like the same old Titans. Can't win games that we should win. Can't pass the ball. What do we have to do to get over this hump to change our mojo? Thanks for the show. Love the website. Love the new content. Thanks for taking my call.
Same old Titans. I mean, it's hard not to think that there's some DNA in this team that allows for that. Now, maybe we look back at the end of the season and we say, boy, the Bears were a bad matchup for this team on opening day. But, even saying that the defense was good today, which it was, you should, they forced 2 turnovers out of Levis. The Titans should be able to force some turnovers out of Caleb Williams. No, he wasn't particularly good. As we're discussing, the Titans gave them 17 points. Well, how many points did the Bears give the Titans with a rookie quarterback playing? None. So, I'm not going to throw a parade for the defense, which admitted after the game, Simmons included, Simmons and Diggs and Murray, all and Snead, all that the Titans need to force some turnovers, take the ball away. So they can do far better in that department and need to do far better in that department. at least match it. They can't give it up as much. You don't want to give it up so much that it's a ridiculous ask to take it away that much. But same old Titans. It feels that way. And this team, even at its best, is capable of duds like that really leave a mark. And I think you lose a game like that, if you're going to be a legitimate playoff contender, you've got to steal a game from somebody that you shouldn't beat along the way to make up for that. That's only 5.9% of the season. But somewhere else, you got to steal 6% of the season from a team that you should not beat. Don't you? I feel like you absolutely do. I've got a big sneeze coming here, so you got that to look forward to. Excuse me. A lot of runs on first down, particularly early. I thought the play calling was super conservative early, like, hey, let's ease into this thing instead of, hey, let's bang them over the head. So I just thought it was weak. 2 3-and-outs. They had 5 3-and-outs, and in 12 series, and I wrote this in the column, but in 12 series, so poor. And Levis said it's just bad football. But in 12 series, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-and-outs and a 4-and-out, or 4 plays for a field goal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-and-outs. Just terrible. I don't see how anybody could be satisfied with that. You saw Simmons intentionally brush Levis on the sideline, folks. Brush by him, brush his shoulder, but it's a very vague thing. Somebody asking about why the Titans couldn't do anything in the second half. Let's go talk more about that. Here's Alex.
Hey, this is Alex from New York. I'm just curious, Paul. I mean, what changed from when they moved the ball down the field, drove something like 80 yards early in the half, looked easy? They're going for a score. We expect to see some more of that throughout the game. And then they just basically didn't move the ball for the rest of the game. And how has it changed from looking so easy to shuttle pass, interception, strip sack, just 3-and-out horror show that we saw? Thanks.
It's a great question, Alex. So they had the first scoring drive at the end of the first quarter, 8 plays, 79 yards, and then the series that ended with Chigg's great touchdown, 17-yard touchdown catch, 14 plays, 73 yards. They're 2 good touchdown drives relatively early in the game. What changed? Callahan said in the second half they came out, they were rushing more people and coming harder on first and second down, which they expected, and the Titans weren't handling it very well. Latham was not particularly good in this game, offensive line overall, but then this quick game is going to solve it, right? And Levis looked uncomfortable all night. Uncomfortable. The quick stuff wasn't particularly on target. It didn't set guys up. Nobody was breaking an initial tackle. I wrote about this need for yak yards. Titans, I don't think, had very many yak yards in this game. They weren't getting free of people. The Bears were doing a really nice job tackling people quickly. I'd give the Bears credit in that regard defensively. But that's what changed, and Callahan said the Titans did not react to that as well as they needed to. So that's another thing that's reminiscent of Downing and Kelly. The Titans see an adjustment from the other team, and they don't counter-adjust to it effectively. And that's highly disappointing, right? Very familiar. Yeah, Dixie, if you don't change that name, you're not invited in here. I'm no prude, but I also like my comedy funny. So we're going to put you in a timeout. Special teams sucks now for the same reason James says it did before. The roster is lacking talent and depth. I don't know. I mean, some of these people should be better special teamers, I think. But when the back end of your town, when the back end of your roster is, the last 5 or 6 guys are not automatic roster people, yeah, then I tend to agree that's going to lead to problems for sure. Levis can't get off his first read. Kyle says someone has to be open on the all-out blitz interception. Yes, somebody should be open on that. But look, if nobody's open on that, he had no problem dirting the ball very easily several times, right? So dirt the ball there or take the sack. That's third down play, right? Take the sack and punt. What's the problem? Look, Levis has played. This was maybe his 9th game. Paris says Levis is not that guy. I mean, it doesn't do you any good to pronounce Levis not that guy after his 8th or 9th start. He's going to get every chance to be that guy this year, and we're going to see. Ken says Spears was not slippery. Look, Pollard was going good. So I didn't see much reason to get Spears very involved. Spears had 4 carries for 21 yards. That's 5.3. It's actually better than what Pollard did. Spears, 4 receptions, 11 yards, 2.8. Terrible. And I agree. I mean, he's one of the first guys that you expect to break some tackles. CW says, newsflash to Brian. The genius, if your O-line is struggling, call running back screens. They called some screens. They didn't get anything out of them. Was not working. Let's go back to the phone lines here. If you remember, you've got the number. I encourage you to call during the game, after the game. Here's Jeff.
Hey, Paul. Jeff in Austin, Texas. What a loss. I've been following this franchise for 36 years this year, and this is one of the most excruciating losses I've seen. I cannot imagine how the Titans go up from 17-0 and end up losing that game. Defense looks really promising. Love the aggressiveness. Offensively, a little confused by the opening 2 series, but then they seemed to get on track, and I thought they were going to be good enough to win. One thing that I really struggle with Will Levis today is how long he held on to the ball. Excruciating long. Toward the end of the game there, in critical moments where he needed to make a snap decision and get rid of it. Of course, as you watch the game, you can't really see what's going on downfield. But throughout the game, the lack of downfield throws or throws into the middle of the field, where were they? Was our receivers just not able to get open? Isn't that what we got Ridley for? And Burks, come on, man, what's the deal? And Westbrook-Akine, where are you? Help me out, Paul. I'm sure you were there and you saw it. Will Levis holding the ball too long. Your thoughts on that? And our wide receivers, how could they not get separation today?
I'm still here. It's not a great separation bunch still. I mean, Ridley's the separation guy. And he had 2 22-yard catches, which was the best they had. He missed them one time. He got hit while he was throwing it. It affected the throw. That's the big thing. They're still not in great sync. There wasn't a lot of time. It was a combination of everything. Levis was uncomfortable all day. Part of it's the pressure. Part of it's the assessing things. Part of it's the coverage. Part of it's the routes. Everything was a mess today. They just were not in sync. And part of it's the Bears. Obviously, you got to give the Bears credit. A better defense than I think most of us expected. But you got to find some plays in there, and then you got a couple penalties, so you're in 2nd and 15, and all the same typical bullshit that we saw a lot under Todd Downing and Tim Kelly offenses. So really disappointing. Hopkins only played 15 snaps of 61. Hopkins is Levis's security blanket, and there wasn't a lot of security to be had. So that was a big disappointment. So, I mean, it was really just a mess. And you could feel it turning. Teron Davenport had this stat: the Bears are the first team in NFL history to win a game in which they trailed by at least 17 points, and they had fewer than 150 yards total. So that's from ESPN Stats and Info. So you talk about giving a game away. I mean, Titans did everything they could to give that away. Now, it seems that they feel some sense of relief, or Levis said it, they didn't win that game, we lost it. I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse. Does that make you feel better, or does that make you feel worse? It doesn't. I don't know that it would make me feel better. But they, I don't know, maybe they're just stating facts. And here's a question from the crowd. Oh, James says Tim Kelly wasn't bad, possibly better scheme and definitely better play calling. I think he took too much abuse as a play caller, and he certainly didn't have good players. But I think it's silly to say after one Brian Callahan game that Tim Kelly was a better play caller than Brian Callahan. We're going to have to see. How do you get Stonehouse? This is great by Robert Price. How do you get Stonehouse crushed in his first game back? Just pathetic. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, there should be heads rolling. And I'm really curious, I'm curious about this in general, but do guys get yelled at anymore? Like, will there be yelling by coaches in meetings as they review mistakes made here? Or is it a much softer environment now where things are kind of walked through in a much more peaceful manner? So we'll see. Special teams was atrocious, though it did get the one play where Julius Chestnut, and a play like that, by the way, in a kickoff return, if you mess it up, you don't have guys around you anymore, to recover it. So there are better odds that if a guy's got good vision on it, coming at the ball on the defending team, of recovering it. I think I was talking about that with Steve Lehman in the press box. And this is a good, fair point. James Foster said Bears play mostly zone coverage, need to check film, but separation didn't seem like a big issue. You're basically running to a spot, and it's on Levis to decipher. And we saw a few of those plays, James, I think you'll agree, where he's running to the spot. And he actually, I think, made reasonably good throws where he led a guy, to his inside or outside shoulder that turned him away from the more dangerous coverage and towards a potential for yak, maybe not a lot of yak, but to fall at least towards a better gain or whatever. So that's it. I don't really care about anything Stillman says, so don't ask me Stillman questions. But I expected special teams to be much better. I was a big Craig Aukerman detractor. But somebody points out that the bottom of the roster is bad, which makes the special teams poor, or helps the special teams be poor. And I think that is a contributing factor. I think they got taken for granted by Vrabel, who, laughingly said, all these kickers came to us and they stunk and they went elsewhere and they got good. Yeah, well, they got coached to be better kickers somewhere else, and they weren't coached here, where not enough of a emphasis was put on technique and all of that stuff. Yeah, sometimes a guy, isn't very good in his first step and gets better in his second step and all of that. But special teams, a problem for the Titans too long, and certainly a reason that they lost today, which is a big disappointment. But they primarily lost today, if you had to target one thing, is because the offense found no rhythm, didn't move, strip sack, interception for a pick six, just not good enough. Dwayne is really feeling good about Levis.
Paul, it's Dwayne. What a horrible, disappointing day this turned out to be. 17-0 lead, and then the mayonnaise boy with a processor of a 1980s Texas Instrument computer through interception after interception and fumble, just lack of brain power all around. I don't know. Mayonnaise brain needs to settle down. But it was just, it gave away the first victory of the season. Just disgusting. Talk to you later. Bye.
They talked about, mastering the mundane and settling for the short stuff and making good decisions. To me, the pick six really combined, right? The decision making and the accuracy. So he's got to make a decision there. He makes the decision that he's going to throw it out of bounds. Well, if you make the decision that you're going to throw it out of bounds, you have to be damn sure that you throw it out of bounds in a way that it can't be picked off. So it's a combination of a bad decision and then inaccuracy with the bad decision. He can't control the accuracy because he's being hit. So if you're going to be hit, then you have to swallow it. And he knows it. He called it a bonehead decision right away. And he said he had recency bias because he got away with doing it recently. Well, the review of him doing it recently should have been, hey, you can't get away with doing that, because the next time the way that somebody impacts your body is going to have a bearing on the throw, and you could come out the wrong side of it. Now, was that discussion had, and did he not take it? The advice of it, I don't know, but there's too much going on there, and that's a problem. So I don't know what you do there. Except, and I thought Callahan's reasonable here. Hey, still a young quarterback, still has to learn from some game moments. Is not going to learn everything in practice. But you can't see a mistake like that again from him now. If you see him do that again, then you got a real issue about making mistakes like that again. So, I don't think you throw Will Levis away over anything he did today. But you can't see the kind of mistakes he made today. You need to see some better processing and some more thoughtful play. Now, the Jets are a pretty good defense, too. They're going to come to Nashville a little more tired. We'll see what they do against San Francisco tomorrow night. But, what's there? I think we didn't listen to Trey, that it makes no sense.
Paul, it's Trey, Chattanooga. I am not well, sir. It's a really weird feeling after this game. Obviously lost with the Bears, but went straight up Jekyll and Hyde today from first half to second half. I don't know if you just write it off as a young team or a new head coach. It's like it literally doesn't make sense, and especially the special teams issue. Freaking implosion, really. But then also Levis, like that was astronomically bad. The pick six. The fumble, overall confidence in the second half was absolutely off the chart, like in a negative way, as compared to the first half. So how do you, where do we even start with this? How do you digest this as a fan? How do you look at this and say, are we just praying for a wild card spot, or were we ever praying for a wild card spot from the first half to the second half? So keep it up, Paul. Love you. Appreciate it. Bye.
I think you guys can reasonably still root for a wild card spot. One game does not tell you that much about the season. It could look far better in a week. I haven't seen that much of what went on around the league, but I know, other teams blew leads. Cody here has a good point. The ball should have been thrown out of bounds before he tucked it. So he brought it down, and then he brought it up. On that bringing it down, he could have done it. But look, eating the sack is the play there, I would say. Robert Price said it'll be interesting to see Blake's take on Latham's play. I can give you a preview. He thought he was very raw because I swapped texts with him. How many games like this out of the offensive line does it take to make a definitive statement about their ability? I would think you want to see a month of guys who are being trained by Bill Callahan work together before you get it. And I would think, for a rookie like Latham, you're expecting he's going to get better on a week-to-week basis. Nate says you would have won that game with Rudolph. Well, the guy you're developing is Levis, and Levis's ceiling is higher. It doesn't feel like it today, but Levis's ceiling is higher than Rudolph's ceiling. And, could you win this game with Rudolph? Yeah, probably. Is Rudolph going to take you where you want to go ultimately? No. He's not. Might Levis? Yes, and that's what they're going to try to figure out. So we'll see. Jamie says we ran the ball almost every first down. Does Bill Callahan have too much power here? You think Bill Callahan wants to? Oh, you say it seems like old man play calling, not young guru. I think it's young guru being very careful, too careful. And Robert points out, the Green Bay game is actually a possible win now when it was a for sure loss a week ago. Certainly, if Malik Willis is starting that game, the Titans should absolutely win it. They should win it on defense alone. Do I think Levis getting called run plays for him helps get him going? It didn't help get him going today in terms of passing. I mean, I think it's a good part of the offense once in a while, but I don't think it has a great deal to do with whether he can pass or not. No, Cody, I don't think they had 100 yards rushing in the first half. Then first half summary, they had, yeah, they did. They had 115 yards rushing. 64 for Pollard, 24 for Levis, 21 for Spears, 6 for Burks, whose thing is end arounds. Apparently, that's about all he could do. So 115 yards rushing in the first half, and then you're not going to like the final numbers because they had 140. They really didn't do a damn thing in the second half. They had like 2.4 yards per play or something like that. Nicholas says that Levis was too emotional in the second on the sidelines. I don't know if you hold that against him or not. Skoronski was tossed around a couple of times. Daniel Frame points out pass blocking was really bad in the second half. Seems like Latham and Skoronski were bad today. When is Levis going to learn when to slide? Yeah, he jumped into contact on that one play, which is not smart. We didn't get around to asking him about that. But he's got to do better there. Thanks, everybody, for coming in here. I've played a bunch of voicemails from fans. It's an advantage of being a member of paulkuharsky.com. You can read my column there that's wide open for everybody. Tomorrow morning, I'll have Blake Bettingfield's scouting reaction. That's for members only, so a great reason to be a part of things. Mike Herndon with reaction also on Tuesday. And I'll obviously be at Brian Callahan's press conference tomorrow, getting some more out of him after he's looked at the film of this game and kind of had more time to digest what exactly went wrong. And we come at him with a second wave of questions about what a mess that was. Cody, they actually did have Will Hoyt with them during some of that time, who was an actual kicking coach when they were struggling through some of those kickers. UW forgot that he can call me now on the voicemail line, so I look forward to that. Broadcast team was awful, Chris Flint says. Calling Raidens, they're your best lineman. Wow. Didn't pay any attention to Cushenberry. Raidens, I didn't get a very good look at Rupsich, but he didn't seem to be the key of the problems after he came in. So that was encouraging, at least. What else is on our mind? The Burks end-around question that's in here, I mean, I think it's one way to get the ball in his hands, and he does get going on the speed. I think, they can get the ball to Burks. They can get the ball to Ridley in other ways. They have trouble. This is a second regime that's had trouble getting the ball to Burks in other ways. But I don't want to see a lot of Burks once Hopkins' snap count goes up. and we saw more Burks today than we would have anticipated if Hopkins was up to speed, and NWI as well. I want it to be predominantly Ridley, Hopkins, Boyd, with guys only filling in, not as much for packages as for tiredness. So we'll see how that progresses as things go. What else on your mind here? I just don't know. I feel like if this game came in week 2 after they had won a conventional game, it would have been a lot more easy to digest. The fact that it comes now with all the offseason hopes and everything, it's going to make for a really ugly week of people. And I'm not saying it's not bad, but there'll be a lot of overreaction. There were a lot of people on my Twitter timeline calling for, Rudolph, saying that Levis isn't the guy. Certainly you can't come out of this game saying Levis is the guy, but Levis is going to get a lot of time now. DeMarco Moore saying Sanchez made great points on Levis drifting pocket movements leading to rushed throws, especially on the missed TD passes. And I like that. I noticed that a couple times that he drifts off the midline, which probably helps create problems. So I will follow that line of questioning. I'm trying to dig a pen out of my pocket here. I will follow up on that line of questioning with Callahan tomorrow. Because I think that pen's never coming out of my pocket. I do think that's an interesting thing that he can create some problems for himself on. That's not good. What's the best deep dish place in Chicago? Any Chicago-related people in here? Drift off midline. I will definitely look to address that more tomorrow. Vanderbilt will have a better record through 2 games than the Titans. I don't think that's that big a deal, especially since Vanderbilt's got a cupcake there with Alcorn State. CW says this was probably the worst loss I've ever watched. I mean, that's very much recency bias. The Titans have been in some miserable losses just in the last 2 years. So Lou's is the place that I want to go. I got to get some delivered. I mean, James asked, do I think this game is a wake up to the offensive staff and the offense? You'd think they thought they were great and now they discover they weren't great. I don't really understand the wake up from what. They had a terrible game. They're going to go into the office and be really hard on themselves and work their asses off this week to make sure it doesn't happen again and to correct everything that went badly. But do they lose faith in everything that they've had faith in for the entire offseason? No. So getting a lot of rave pizza stuff in here. So I appreciate all of that. Biggest loser from this is Amy, says James Krause. Firing Vrabel was a mistake. Also want to point out he was right shirt ran, and that's why Brinker is in the position he's in. I think what he's trying to say is he was right about Ran, and that's why Brinker's in the position he's in. Brinker's running the football team, the football operation, but he's not running personnel. Rand's personnel moves look pretty good so far. They didn't look good today, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be good. And a lot of the defensive guys did look pretty good. I was pro Vrabel, but I'm certainly going to give Callahan more than one game to judge him. The same way I gave Vrabel a lot more than one game to judge him. So I would be wary of jumping to fast conclusions about this football team and about the coaching staff. And if Brinker does a good job running football ops while Ran to whatever degree he's running personnel, does a good job running personnel. I don't know why we'd care so much about the division of labor, quite frankly. If it's effectively divided, I understood Vrabel's problems with Rand. I'll say that. What else we got? Week 1 is a liar, good or bad. Ed Henry says, offense is not going to be this bad, nor will the defense be this dominant. Ed, you're absolutely right there. And Robert Price says the standard line we get every year. Most improvement comes from week 1 to week 2 in the NFL. Probably also correct. Snead looked pretty good. He did get beat on the 4th down play, which is where you go. Huge indictment on Rand. This is completely wrong for Will Aiken. Huge indictment on Rand if he passed on a quarterback this year in favor of Levis if this continues. Well, whoever's playing quarterback for this franchise needs a goddamn left tackle. And they got themselves a left tackle. So if he drafted another quarterback, they would have drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round, a quarterback in the 2nd round, a quarterback in the 1st round, 3 years running, and not have addressed left tackle. And so this 1st round left tackle would have had this 1st round quarterback would have had a 2nd round left tackle at best, and he'd be out there getting killed. You got to put a quarterback out there and give him a chance to play at some point. And so they're going to give this guy a chance to play and see if he's the guy. At some point, you have to insert a quarterback and let him play, see if he's the guy or not. You can't make a snap decision on a guy after 8 games last year with no receivers and no offensive line. So I think that's crazy. I think you're dead wrong. Jones and Gibby were like, at some point I asked for a snap count, and it was like 12-7 Gibby. So we shall see. I thought the secondary did a pretty good job, but I think Caleb Williams also missed James several throws that were makeable throws. So, I wouldn't get too carried away with it yet. I think we still need a lot a lot more. We need to see a lot more. Jeff Simmons, Sweat and Simmons, Kyle says, it looked like a problem for other teams, though. Broadcast talked about it multiple times. And Simmons was happy as could be after the game. So I couldn't tell what happened on the punt block, but it did come, I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, I did include a Twitter clip of it in my column, but I thought it came up the middle. Callahan said they got edged, but I thought Mike Brown, who I would have looked for in the locker room but didn't see, the personal protector. Now, he's got a lot of responsibility and there's a lot going on, but I thought it came past him. And so, I was going to ask him if he had a sense of what happened. And he probably, because he's not playing on defense, had a chance to look at pictures. So that'll become more clear. CW says Gibbons allowed the punt block. So we shall see as we get a closer look at it. One of those guys the right guard or the right tackle is allowed to be a starter in the league. Nicholas Petit-Frere is allowed to be a 3rd-round guy who is a starting right tackle and maybe, not the best guy on the line, but a survivable guy on the line. I don't know. Everybody seems to think you have to have a 1st-round pick or an expensive free agent at every spot on the offensive line, which is not how offensive lines are built, especially when you have Bill Callahan coaching. So, Petit-Frere had a penalty today. I didn't notice him as a standout problem among the guys. I thought Latham had a tough day. I thought Skoronski got tossed a couple times. And I'm sure Petit Frere had some problems, but I didn't come out of the game thinking, boy, NPF was a huge issue today. And Radens obviously got hurt. So I'll take a couple more and we'll get out of here. I'll go eat some deep dish. The time on Sunday nights from 5:30 to 7:08 Central goes that fast. Logan asks, why isn't Hopkins put on IR? What's the point of having him for 8 snaps? They had him for 15 snaps. They said he's going to play more and more every week. They didn't put him on IR because they think 15 snaps of DeAndre Hopkins is valuable to them. I think, today's 15 snaps wasn't very good, but if next week he plays 20 or 25, that's far more valuable than some of the alternatives. Robbie Stanley wants me not to eat deep dish. I could find better. Well, I'm not in New York tonight, Robbie. I'm in Chicago. I can't go to Cornet at 110th and Broadway or any of my other places where I know I can do better. Yeah, UW says the punt block was up the middle. So, Rupsich or Gibby could have been problems. Real franchise quarterbacks don't blow games like that, Kiki said. But also, real franchise quarterbacks take more than 9 games to become real franchise quarterbacks, oftentimes. Maybe not the best of the best, but a lot of guys take more than 9 games to establish themselves as real franchise quarterbacks. Peyton Manning threw, 27 interceptions in his first 16 NFL games, and Levis hasn't played as many games as that yet. Will says, Rand has put together a 500 roster with a bottom 5 quarterback, likely to be stuck in purgatory with this approach. You got to give it a little time. Will, again, I'm just saying the quarterback, I think, played his 9th game today. Is he allowed to play a little longer before we decide? And, look, there is kind of a window of teams like that, which isn't the best place to be, where you're a 500 team with a quarterback who makes you a 500 team. No such thing as a 500 team anymore, but we know what we're talking about. But, I don't agree with guys like you who would rather be a 3-14 team to get a draft pick for a quarterback who's not a guarantee. I would rather be a 500 team, 8 or 9 win team that is a win or 2 away from being a 10-win team, which gets into the playoffs and can get hot and potentially make a run. I would rather be that than be a 2 or 3 win team that gets to the. I'm not a draft guy. I don't want to see a team aspire to go draft a high quarterback when there are no guarantees high in the draft. Now, if you happen to be at a year where there's a golden guy, but Trevor Lawrence was a golden guy, and look what's become of him. And is there a golden guy in this draft? And are the Titans, if they were to win 2 or 3 games this year, which I don't think they're going to do, I think they're going to win more, are they assured of getting that guy? No. So I don't know what you want exactly. Take 2 more, and we're going to get out of here and eat some pizza. Kiki says, I don't think the Titans will ever have a great defense. They had a great offense. They had a great offense for that 1 year under Arthur Smith before they fucked up the whole A.J. Brown thing. It was really, really good. James wants to know if Dillard was a Rand move or a Vrabel move. I think it's probably more of a Vrabel move than a Rand move, but I don't think we know for sure. Chip says the game is not slowed down for Levis yet. I think we can all agree on that. We'll finish here with Kyle, who makes a good point. The impatience is crazy, brand new. Everything will need a little time. I agree with that. It's going to take a little time. That said, crap performance tonight. Don't care about the effort. Don't care that the defense was good. Overall result is what you care about. And the overall result was shit. When you're up 17-0, you've got to win the game. You got to score more. You got to continue to score. And you have to find a way to get the game into the win column. You have to finish. And the Titans could not finish tonight. They did not find a way to finish. Join PaulKuharsky.com, become a member, be part of the voicemail line here, get to read everything on the site. You want to be in the mix. I appreciate all of you coming. Thanks. Good to see so many of you here. I look forward to seeing you as part of the site. Don't block the box, and be sure to lock your locks. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.